Hey guys, welcome back to the Transformation Church weekly message recap podcast. We are back. I got it right, didn't I?
Little hesitation.
Yeah,
I got it right.
Never get it right.
Yeah, we never get it right. So we're back again. I'm Justin, one of your hosts, one of the pastors here at TC with our lead pastor Brad. The legend himself, our founding pastor Dan Livingston,
Yes, sir.
is with us.
Yes, sir.
Founder of Pastor to Pastor. What else? There's a whole long
Founder of
list.
Transformation Church.
Founder of Transformation
Pastor to
Church.
Pastor.
Yeah. I was doing some work on Pastor to Pastor today.
Yep.
Getting
Founder
ready to
of-
kick it off big time.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Yeah,
That's always exciting. So, so we're back.
absolutely. And we got John here.
Oh, John's here.
Hi, everybody.
Heard, not seen. John Sapp.
He's lost so
John-
much weight we can't find him in the dark over there.
That's
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
It's not been that much. I can't see it that much, but
me either.
You don't see
honestly.
it. You don't see it in yourself, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did get my shakes in. I have not tried one yet, but the box came in.
That's like having a gym membership.
Yeah,
Never going.
no. I'm gonna try one in the. I'm gonna make one for breakfast in the morning. I don't want to start at dinner. I feel like that's weird, so I just keep putting it off a couple days.
Or on like a Wednesday. Like
Yeah, that's what I was
Monday
thinking.
sounds like a good day.
So I ordered the Huel,
Yeah.
the Huel shakes. I did.
Good for you.
I did a lot of research. I mean, I watched YouTube reviews, the whole thing of like for taste. Like, what are these? Do these do it for you?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
are they chalky? Are they gonna fill you up? You know, what's just shakes? I mean, it's supposed to be like this is a low calorie. You know, cut the thing. So, anyways, I got 3 flavors: chocolate, vanilla, and banana.
You got the
Hey, yo.
banana.
I'm gonna try. I like bananas. So I'm gonna try it.
Fair enough.
And then they got those hot and
Ready meals.
hot and savory,
Savory.
where it comes like this little hot pot. So like more of like there's like a Mexican chili. So it's not a shake. It's like I guess they're like oats. And when you mix it with hot water and let it sit for a minute, it makes like a food. It's like an oatmeal kind of a thing that it's supposed to be pretty good. They said
Yeah. It's going to have to be better than what you're
If they
making.
need, a salesman, you don't need to apply for
Yeah.
that job.
No, yeah, I don't know much about it.
At all.
All I know is I'm trying to do something, you know, and I'm trying to take a step in the right direction.
Good for you, man. Come
Yeah.
on, I
That's
support
awesome.
So maybe by next week I could give a review on
There you go.
the
Huel.
flavors.
Shout them out on
So-
Instagram. See if
Yeah.
they'll.
Yeah, they send you a
Sponsor
nice
you.
T-shirt.
They do.
Okay.
It's a nice shaker that comes with. I mean, I got a whole bottle. I mean, that bag is 17
It's
meals,
big.
and I got 3 of those.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You went all in, didn't you?
I spent a little
51
money.
meals.
Well, yeah, because I wanted to try like which flavor am I gonna like. I figured I didn't want just one flavor because you get tired of it. Is my thought. Like, I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah,
Well, when you come in 40 pounds
us
lighter,
know.
we're going to
That'll
go.
be
It
awesome.
worked. It
That'd be
worked.
something.
man.
Yeah.
Man, 40 pounds
Put the pedal to the metal.
on my
There you go.
e-bike. The pedal on my e-bike. That thing is fun though.
Yeah.
Listen, if you never rode an e-bike, I highly recommend.
It's a good time.
It's a blast. I'm cruising all through Cordova Park on that thing. Really, it's fun.
Zipping around.
Yep. So,
Right on, man.
yeah, no. So,
I started back with my personal trainer last week. I'm still hurting.
mm,
So
yeah,
it's the name of the game.
name of the game.
But getting healthy. Got to be here for a long time. Been here for a good time and a long time.
That's the hard part.
Yep. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, man, it's been
we had a good Sunday.
good Sunday. It was electric in this joint on Sunday, man. Like just
Boogie woogie woogie. It's sorry, bad
Yeah.
joke. The electric slide. You know that, John? The electric
Yeah,
slide.
I do know that.
Yeah.
It was real.
It was good.
Yeah.
Good. You were Pastor Dan was online with us. He was traveling back from Central Florida.
We didn't from a record. Last week we talked about a record Sunday. We didn't beat that record, but we still had almost as many people in service. So,
Yeah.
not that it's about the numbers, but it does have an energy to it.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers were important. Jesus told many people he fed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the main point, but if you're reaching people, your church is reaching people. It's
Well,
anything healthy grows.
Yeah.
So if your numbers are not growing, or if your numbers are growing, then it's showing the health of the culture of the church, which that's what, with Pastor Brad and the team, that's the major focus. And people come where there's a healthy culture and they hear a message and dynamic worship. I mean, Pastor Brad was saying, I was down checking on my mom, who we had to put in a home, nursing home. And man, I just got on Interstate 10 when worship in the first service started. And it was so real, so powerful that I just pulled over on the side of the interstate and had me a good time, and just had church. It was that real, it wasn't like, oh, I'm listening to them over there. It really was like being there. It was awesome.
It was really good.
It was powerful. Yeah.
Now speaking of healthy things grow, is it possible to be healthy and not grow, do you think?
Well, Pastor Brad looked like he was going to say something. So no. Everything goes through seasons. God gave us 4 seasons of our weather
Well, not here, he didn't.
And so, yeah, we're real hot. We're in the hot one right now here, but everything's seasonal, and I think that's where churches miss it a lot of times. And a healthy leadership understands that. And I'm thankful that that's part of what the training is here through Pastor Brad and the team, that the Bible tells us the law of the harvest. There's a preparation season. There's a sowing season. There's a maintaining season. There's a season where there's no growth. That it's a time now that you sit and you start developing the leader, getting ready for another harvest.
Right.
And everything's you're not going to grow all the time, or the church is going to outgrow you. It can be a steady growth, but you're going to see these, like we're in a moment right now to where it's like, just get on the reins and hold on, where are these people coming from?
Right.
Yeah.
If it stayed like that and we're not developing dream teamers and, which we are, but so everything's seasonal. So, it can be healthy and not be growing at that moment.
Yeah.
But it will, if you're not growing at that moment, you're developing leaders to take care of the growth when it does start back, because it will come back.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're not stagnant.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah. I think it's like the stock market. You know what I mean? It's like, it's always trending upward, even if you're in a little bit of a slump or a decrease for today or for this week, or even
if you zoom out of that timeline, it's still doing
it's from the day the market opened until today, it's been a steady increase. There's moments where you go down, but that's the stocks, they're going to come back up eventually, most of whatever. But yeah, I think that's important. That's why the numbers matter, because you got to know your data points. You got to know, if you're telling your whole church, go out and invite a friend and bring them to church in June, then probably not going to happen, because our data points show that other than this year, we broke every metric we've ever had this year, because nothing made sense in a good way. People were just flooding in the doors in July 4th weekend. But usually you have data. Yeah, it's literally, usually we have data that helps us lead the church, but even in that, we know, we have data for when people are getting saved most often. We know when the salvations are at their highest, and we know when they're at their lowest. And so even with that, the series, when people, the months that people are not getting saved in high numbers, that means unchurched people aren't looking for churches in higher numbers. So that means most of the people in the building are saved Christians. Therefore, we're going to preach messages that are a little more in depth and speak something to them. Whereas the seasons where we know unsaved people are in the building more, we're going to cater those messages towards the unsaved a little bit more. We use the phrase, we're not, we're seeker aware. We're aware when lost people are in the building, and we're aware when they're not as much in the building, and we're going to pivot accordingly. So,
You used a curse word right there in the religious system, man.
Seeker.
Yeah. Oh, your seeker-friendly church all of a sudden, no. The Bible said Jesus came to seek and to save that which was lost. And when your mentality of seeker is that we're doing what we need to do or can do to draw the unchurched in, and that's what's happening. Not just here, it's happening all across the nation right now, in churches in our own city.
Yep.
It's happening, which says it's a God thing, not a church thing.
Yeah.
But But I think going back to your question, one of the things that made me, is when you announced, to us the numbers of 2 weeks ago when we had our next to Easter is the largest number of people we ever had in church on a Sunday. It wasn't just, I think it was 955. Mm-hmm. It was the other two numbers you gave that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was like 32, I think in Next Steps, if I remember 35, something like that.
Something like that.
And, what was 20 something?
I think 22 first time guests, and then
first time guests, and then like 12 salvations, if I remember. I mean, those numbers are showing growth. That's huge. Health. Yeah, that's growth, massive. But it's not just one area. We hear it all the time from people that come in. They hadn't even gotten to worship yet. They haven't got to they hadn't heard a sermon yet. It's like, man, when I walk in this lobby, it's like the electricity in this room, the love. Yeah. 6 people has already welcomed me. I feel like part of the family, and I hadn't even got connected,
Yeah.
And that's health. It's not just the numbers, Yep. That's a sign of a healthy culture.
No doubt.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing is true. You can have, Chris Hodges says this, and it's true. You can have great preaching and great singing in an unhealthy culture, and your church is going to die. But you can have mediocre preaching and mediocre worship in a healthy culture, and your church is going to thrive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
And it's true.
But you're also right that it's not just us here. A friend of mine is on, my friend Kyle is now on the worship team at Echo Life, and they've hit a couple record Sundays as well.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Attendance wise, they're talking about, they've been pulling chairs in the auditorium like we have, but now they've been on the third service conversation.
Awesome.
So we love them over there at Echo Life Church.
Awesome.
So, but he was telling me that I had lunch with him on Saturday. He was telling me, I was like, that's really cool. It's not just us,
No, it's all over. I'm hearing it from pastor after pastor. Young church plants. So some of the pastors that we're working with and mentoring are seeing it in young church plants with ARC. And now they're going into 2 services. And one of them, they're kind of mentoring from day one, a little over a year and a half ago. And man, he texted me right while church was going. He said, we got 22 in First Steps today, and they broke the 200 mark. And,
oh, wow.
And it's just solid. It's just, awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Celebrate with them, man.
Yeah.
Well, some of those milestones, and they're just numbers, but they are barriers that are hard to break.
Yeah.
Some of those milestones,
200, 400.
Those are hard. Yeah.
Well, and it's what people, it's like what a lot of people don't necessarily understand unless you're in our world, is it's not just what those numbers represent. It's not just what the numbers are, it's what they represent.
Right.
Like when you cross a threshold to 200, you now have the ability to increase your staffing.
Right.
And that changes the game because now the pastor gets to focus on doing more of what he can do, and you're bringing in more staff. At 400, the same thing, you get to pull in more staffing, but you also get to fund more vision because with 400 people it brings more money. So it's like now you can take on mission projects you couldn't take on when you were only 200 or 300 people.
Right.
And the same thing for, what is the next one? I think it goes 600 and then it goes 1,000 if I'm not mistaken. But it's like same thing, like more staffing, then more bigger mission projects. Like we built a playground this year in the Dominican Republic. I think we invested a grand total of like $25,000 in the DR in one go. And it's like, we couldn't have done that as a 300 member church. If we did, we'd have to saved up 3 years, but
right.
So it's just like, it's not all the numbers you celebrate because every person matters, but it also, those numbers represent something that you may not think about in the grand scheme of things, because it's the same thing as a business in that degree. Is like more customers means more income, means we can have better gear, or we can have a bigger stock, or we can have all of these things. So the more you have, the more you're able to do, it's like, so what I'm, it's the whole, like what I'm part of is bigger than the part I play type of thing. And so that's also why the numbers matter a lot and people don't necessarily think about.
Yeah. And for us, we're about to hopefully, that 1,000 barrier, hitting it once will be one thing, but to get it consistently, that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Because of what it represents, like you're talking about, especially in a city like ours, that there is a lot of churches, there's not really a mega church. I mean, some of the 3 or 4 large guys would technically qualify as a mega church. But it's not like we have a famous church here or anything, or like a more well-known, like a Church of the Highlands or something like that, or an Elevation. We're not competing, quote unquote, competing against that. But, for a church like ours in a fairly small building compared to some of the other guys, those are big. I mean, to be 1,000 people, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, 9 months ago, 900 was like not even what we're thinking.
Right. Well, it's been just,
it's just been like one of those moments.
It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me, and I'll hurry here, but a great pastor friend of my generation, Henry Melton, up in North Alabama, pastor of church up there, and he told a story how the church never grew over 50 people for 15 years, and then 1 year it went to like 600-700. Just a move of God showed up, and and now it's a powerful church up at Faith Temple up in North Alabama, and it's those moments. It's just those, sovereign moments that God decides to put his finger on a place or land that we're seeing, because it's happening in multiple churches all at one time.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing.
Right.
It looks the same.
Yeah.
They're different styles.
Yeah.
But what's happening is the same.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about soul message.
The old message. What did I preach on? Oh, yeah. That's
Tribal wars.
Tribal wars. Stop playing games with the enemy was kind of the overall tone from Sunday.
I like this series a lot. I did like the table a lot last week.
Powerful.
But I do like the series.
Yeah. No, it's been good, man. It's been, the tribal wars, it's just all about who we are as a church, and every August to some degree, we try to kind of have a similar vibe, similar tone to just like, reestablishing culture. Culture is just so important, like Pastor Dan already said, so we're just always talking about who we are. And especially in a growth season like this, because, we talk about this, we've talked about this. Everybody walks in the door with their own culture. So they have to get culturized to who we are, because our culture is not for sale. Like our culture won't get hijacked. So you don't come into TC and say, well, I think you guys should do it this way. It's like, well, this is the way we do it. If you want to do it that way, I'm sure there's a church in Pensacola that does it that way. And I don't hate you. I definitely encourage you to go check that church out. Like we unapologetically are who we are.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? Can you define culture for a moment? Because
great question.
In my generation, when you said we're a multicultural church, we're a multiracial church. And so when we use that word, we've used it a lot today. I think it's important people understand what you're saying.
Well, even the word multicultural and what he just said, I think are different.
Yeah.
The context of the word. Being different.
That's what I'm saying. It's been misunderstood when we say got to have a healthy culture. So maybe you define that.
So culture for us is the environment and the intangible presence of excellence, and the environment that we create, that you exist in, is what we talk about when we say culture. So the way people treat each other, the way we talk to each other, honestly, it's kind of the driving force behind the way that we do everything. We do everything with excellence because excellence is part of our culture. We have certain language because language helps shape culture. So and we also get, a lot of everybody around here still kind of struggles with it because we all come from different cultures. Like case in point, like Rick, Pastor Dan, some of the others, like they still call our auditorium the sanctuary. So we're constantly saying like, it's the auditorium. It's not the sanctuary. It's like, does that matter? Not really. But we're always talking about like our language shapes our culture, right? So we talk about one of the hard ones lately has been getting people away from first, second, third service.
Yeah, I was just about to use that example because I was going to tell John, not that that's a big deal, but it's a great example to get people insight. Is we're in 33 services and we decided we don't want to call them first, second, or third service. We want to call them by their 8:30, 10, or 11:30. And John, I don't know if it's just an oversight or like you have so many new people in your area on your team, but there was an Instagram post or a story that said like you still have time to get here for a second service or something. It was a great post, but I was like, I wonder if that's a new person who didn't realize we don't really say it. Not a huge deal, but we don't want to.
Because we don't want, in our culture, we do not want people to believe that even subconsciously there's a ranking to the services. Like the first one is good and the third one's our leftovers. Like we don't want people to have that mentality. So we establish. So those are just those are little ways that language shapes our culture. We don't use phrase like one of the phrases that's not allowed at TC is, well, I'm not going to say it's not allowed. We encourage people to reassess it, which is, I don't agree with that. So when two people are disagreeing about something, we don't say, I don't agree with that. We say, tell me more about that. Like there's something I may not understand. Tell me more about that, because perspective matters, which goes back to the table message from 2 weeks ago. Right.
Yeah.
So, but culture is the intangible yet completely noticeable thing that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't smell, you can't taste, and yet makes all the difference in the world, because you know when you're welcome and you know when you're not. You know when the culture is healthy, you know when you're not. And one of the greatest ways that I use to explain the difference is Walmart and Target. Walmart and Target all sell, for the most part, the same things, but there's a noticeable difference between the two. If you're in the South, Publix and Winn-Dixie, now Winn-Dixie's kind of gotten a lot better. I mean, when we were kids, it was kind of on the bottom, but but a difference between, like, you walk into Publix and you're like, man, it's just something different about the way the employees act, the way they behave. Chick-fil-A and Popeyes, like, there's a difference. It's not that one of them has good food and one has bad food. They both have good food, but there's a noticeable difference in the culture of the environment. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, and yet it's so obviously different. It's in the environment. It's almost like it's in the air. And that's what culture is. And so,
and you said you can't like see it, but I think at some point, not to disagree with you, but like that healthy culture produces an excellence where at some point you do notice a difference. Like,
it is, yeah,
like
right,
the excellence comes out. Like,
yeah,
I can, like, to your part, like, a Publix is visibly nicer inside.
Sure. The byproduct of culture.
That's right.
Yeah. The byproduct culture is a change staff, team, leadership, church, business, etc. Right. So the byproduct of good culture is excellence, kindness. In the church world, honestly, the byproduct of a healthy culture is the fruits of the Spirit. Right. So love, joy, peace, kindness, goodness. Like, so healthy cultures are being, in my opinion, driven by the Holy Spirit. And we add one thing to, actually, we add a couple things to the list of the Holy Spirit, which is we add excellence and we add creativity. And so I believe both of those are gifts of the Spirit, where Paul he didn't know. So, so those are things. So for us, we have a culture that is always seeking after those things. And it generates a behavior. That's why our dream team, they look at stuff and go, that's not right. And they fix it. No one has to walk by. Well, a lot of times, sometimes they do, but a lot of times the dream team just sees it and they go, a lot of times they don't even know how to say that's not our culture. They just go, that doesn't seem like us. We did an event last year. And at the event, there's a number of things that were just out of sorts, kind of. And I had no less than 10 people walk up to me and they're like, we didn't plan this, did we? And I was like, no, we are partnered at this event with someone else. And they said, I can tell, because it's not us. And what they were saying was, it lacks the elements that make TC great. It doesn't have our culture on it. And that's it's a good thing.
And that whole conversation is constant, because I don't know who said it. I heard Greg Groeschel say it last. I don't know if he invented it, but vision leaks and culture drifts. So you have to constantly talk about it, especially in a growth period where every week there's new people that don't know the culture. So it's constantly having to introduce people. It's constantly having to show people what they're experiencing and why that's important. Yeah. It's just like we joke about when people come to our church and they're loving it. Like they talk about how they love it. I love it here. It feels so good. This is great. What y'all ought to think about, what we used to do at my last church is like, not really interested in hearing that, because you left there and there's something here you love, right? And we don't do that. So it's possible to love it without that. And
correct.
And so it's like, not that, and that's just kind of a joking way to say it, but
it's true.
But there is, you do sense it. Yeah. But it is constant.
What people fail to understand is a lot of what has made the culture healthy is the no's, not just the yeses.
A lot of no's.
And sorry, we don't do that. That's
why
required.
I think that's why I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
They think I'm the no guy.
Justin is the official bad guy because he's the
Well,
no guy.
we have a meeting today. We were talking about should we say yes to this or no to this, and y'all heard you were. I'm like, no, we shouldn't.
Well, it's just because it's a lot of times it's just sideways energy, and people don't realize. Me and the individual from that we talked about in the meeting, we talked on the phone yesterday, and I said one of the things that people fail to realize is how many requests get sat in your lap. I mean, if you're not careful, you could be spending you could have your whole staff having sideways energy, just constantly doing this thing for that person. And I'm not talking about like someone that needs help. I'm talking about like someone has a good idea about this, or they have a good idea about that. And it's like, they're all good ideas. They're just they're not us.
And that's what people don't get is like, even the no doesn't mean your idea was stupid or we think you're dumb or it's a bad idea. It's just not what we care to put our energy towards.
And resources.
Yeah. So it's like
limit on both of those.
It may be a phenomenal idea.
Yeah.
And just because you got a no from us doesn't mean it was wrong or bad. It just doesn't fit. And that's where I think that sometimes a disconnect that frustrates me on a back end level, like where it's like, man, because I know they don't love it. I know they walk away going, they're not, even if it's kind of negative, like I get it. People are people, but it's like, they just kind of have the luxury of not knowing what we know sometimes. But it doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It's just like it may be a phenomenal idea. It's just like that's just doesn't fit with what we're doing right now. And that's okay. Like I think we should be okay with that.
Yeah,
because I think you can come up with ideas all day long, good ones.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. What a lot of people oftentimes fail to realize is part of our culture is healthy things grow, and to stay healthy means not burning your people out with constant. I mean, you're probably one of the best ones that every time we're trying to put something on the calendar, you're like, do we really need to do this? Justin's like the dude that's like, do we really need to do this? Like, is this gonna move the vision forward? Is this gonna help us? And you need that person in the meeting, right? Because like again, as a pastor, it's like,
well, there's a healthy balance between all that. Because I'll acknowledge I know I'm not right all the time.
Sure.
But I have to play the opposite because we have to land somewhere on, there's that balance because, church people love to do one thing, and that's have events where they get together with other church people and high five each other about how great they are doing church.
And if you want to do that, you can start a small group. This September 3rd.
But forever we will battle that, and it's like even Nate, like we joke about Nate, our student guy, he has a tendency to want to just do events. It's like, drives me crazy. I'm like, we're not an events church. Right, we're not an events church, but even in not as an events church, we still do events, but church people all day long will come up with ideas like we ought to have an ice cream social for this or this. It's like, or not like, or we should.
Sounds like a good small group every Friday night.
Yeah, because if you're not careful, it's like every time you turn around, you're gonna have the doors open. It's like at some point, if it's all important, nothing's important, or if it's all special, nothing's special. That's kind of how I feel when it comes to events. It's like, let's figure out the few things we want to do, and let's do them really well.
Well, like you said, at minimum, it makes us just look at it carefully. And even if we decide we're still going to do it, at least we assessed it and was okay, no, I do believe this is a good thing. And this is a thing that we are going to get behind. So I think those things are important. But again, at the end of the day, like, we have a relatively small staff for how big our church is.
Yeah, that's true.
So like,
it's only recently started
growing.
The size as
so
it
it's
is.
like at the end of the day, one of the phrases we get to tell people, like, we just had this conversation earlier, right? There's a number of people that are coming through our doors right now. They're coming from other churches. They're hurt. They're a little burnout. And we're telling all of them, you need to sit for 6 months. Don't serve. Don't lead anything. You just need to sit in the culture, feel the freedom, experience like what the Lord wants to do in your life for the next 6 months. And then after that, you can get moving. And we can do that because we don't have so many things going on that we're desperate for people to jump in.
Right,
so it's like one of the reasons why the culture is healthy is because we don't have everybody running full steam all the time. Don't get me wrong. The dream team serves, they're amazing, but we say no to a lot. And a lot of times what we're saying no to, it's not even about us. I mean, our worship team gets invited to a lot of places to go and do things and lead worship at these deals. And it's like, they got 3 services coming up this Sunday. Like, so they got rehearsal on Thursday, got 3 services coming up Sunday. Like, we're not, I love you and I support you, and a family and a lot, they got kids, like, and our worship team's not paid. Like, we have We have like Vince is a part-time worship director, like, and everyone else, unless they're on staff for something else, like John, is they have their full-time job. They don't get paid to do this. So it's like when people ask that, and we run click tracks and we run backing tracks, and it's like, if you're gonna go, then that probably means Kyle's going. So now part of our production team is like, just to do it, it is a big undertaking. So, and these other churches that are asking, a lot of times they're event-driven churches. Well, because they do so many events, they only have 20 people at any event. And it's like, it's not that, 20 people don't matter, but it's one of those things where it's like, if you already got another team that can be there, we definitely don't need to be. And so it's a lot of no's, because, and a lot of those requests never even make it to Vince. They just stop at me. Like, nah, I'm sorry, we're not gonna be able to be a part of that, because I don't want Vince to have to make that hard decision or let someone down. It's like, I'm guarding my team, because it's like, we're gonna stay healthy and keep everyone in the right track. So, anyways, all that says, you asked one question. It's like culture, but that's what it is. Everything speaks, and that's one of the things we taught our leaders. Like, everything speaks to culture, even if you're not trying to. So the language that we use, our dialect, our tone, it's all shaping culture. Our excellence, the things we don't say, is speaking to culture.
But I think, as you're saying that, though, one of the sayings that we use and we practice is, you're more important than your gift.
Yeah.
And, running that worship team, which is phenomenal. I remember when we had like 3 singers and 1 musician, and, and now there's like, 40 or more?
Something like that.
On the team, not every Sunday up there, but they rotate.
Yeah.
And then how many's in Infuse getting ready to get on the team, and just watching what God is doing. But the importance of keeping that team healthy. And if you start running them all over the country, and every night they're not with family and not with kids and everything, you're more important than your gift.
Sure.
I don't care how good you sing, but if you're not healthy, then you're not priority to us. And we want a healthy culture saying you are more important than what you're bringing to us. So I think having that culture allows people, and I've heard that from people coming to me. It's like, I'm serving, but I don't feel the pressure.
Yeah.
We don't use the term volunteer.
Correct.
That's right.
We don't have to do this. We get to do this.
That's right.
And we're going to find where your passion is and where you've been gifted by God, so you can serve out of something you love doing. And if you need a break, it's okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You're not failing the church. You're not failing us. We want you healthy.
No, take that break.
Yeah, the culture allows that. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so cultures are such a big deal for us, and so we're constantly trying to, we're always establishing it, and that's what we were saying earlier is, people are walking in and they're walking in with a culture, because where they're coming from had a culture, even if it wasn't an intentional culture. You're building a culture, pastors, leaders, business leaders, CEOs that are out there, whoever, like, you're always building a culture. And if you're not intentional about it, you're probably building one you don't want. But so people come in with a culture, and it's just like you said, people come in, it's like, man, you guys need to really do this. And it's like, that's what we did at my old church. I'm like, the church you left?
Yeah.
Like, nah, but it's one of those things where we just guard who we are. Like, we know who we are. And so we're constantly making sure that, we're sticking to who we are. And I think we add a few things to the calendar every year, and then I think we take half of them away and pull other things. I mean, I think we're pretty good about asking, like, what didn't work and trying to get it off the calendar. But
I still think we're in and maybe we'll never get out of this. Maybe it's just the nature of who we are as, leaders, whatever. I feel like we're still in even though we're growing, we've not gotten anywhere close to, like, we're still in a turning knob stage.
Yeah.
We're still constantly dialing in exactly what we're going to look like in the things we do. And like, that changes every year, which is maybe just part of it, which is fine. That's like, but.
Yep.
Well, Pastor Brad's saying, if it's not broke, fix it anyway.
Yeah.
Make it better. We're always tweaking things. I was just thinking, I know we want to go into your sermon, but
this is what we do every week.
There's so much, and it's out there. My family went through it as a pastor, church hurt.
Yeah.
Church hurt.
Yeah.
It's a big term that's used now. And, just listen to what you're saying there. Church hurt, I don't think is coming from physical fights, and it's not coming so much, but would you think that a majority of the hurt that people are referring to has really come from the culture, not from an individual itself.
Right.
Sure. Or the individual behaves because that's what the culture that's been
culture.
established.
Yeah. That's what I said that wrong. Absolutely. But a negative culture opened the door for someone that was really not acting out to be ugly or mean or aggressive, but they felt fine or okay in doing what they did because the culture approved it.
Right.
It wasn't a fist fight in church.
Right.
It's an action or a word.
Those might have better outcomes if they were just fight it out.
Yeah.
But
just deal with this.
The culture really does matter.
Yeah.
It really, really does.
Well, I mean, that's what they say, right? Culture's king. All the same culture eats strategy for breakfast, like all those sayings, because they're true. It's like literally. I went to Whataburger twice yesterday, which now that I'm thinking about it is weird.
But those Huel shakes start on Monday.
I was fixing to say, you took them right out of my mouth. I'm going, those shakes come right in time.
You might as well just start after 21 days.
Why don't y'all all be quiet? And
well, at least we're in the culture that we're all doing the same thing.
No. I was in a hurry both times. I needed convenience, which I shouldn't have went there. I don't know why it takes so long at Whataburger. It takes forever in the drive-thru. It's like they take your order and they just put your thing on and cook yours, and everybody's waiting, and then you drive off, and then the next one they put on. It's like, throw a couple patties down, but it literally took forever. And I'm like, it used to be, I could see like Whataburger blaming, well, we're better than McDonald's because McDonald's has all the food ready and they're just sitting under a heat lamp, but we cook it's hot food. But it's like, I have been to Chick-fil-A. It is possible to have hot, fresh, good food and be fast. Like, it exists now. The world knows it.
Yeah, right.
So like, what are y'all doing in there? Like, literally, what's going on?
And I think,
and that's the culture thing. It's like, and we always joke about Popeyes. I mean, Popeyes must, if you're at all nice, they must you not get hired. They only hire rude people or something. It's like
you're going to be told to pull around, and they're going to bring your food out to you. I don't care when you order.
It's the worst. Yeah. It's like they're all mad that they're there, and that's just But Chick-fil-A's not like that at all.
Right?
They weed that out. You couldn't do that at Chick-fil-A.
No, you wouldn't.
Someone along the line would have spotted that, and you'd be gone.
Yeah, that's not who we are.
Yeah, it's not who we are.
That's culture.
And it's like, man, it's just so frustrating where it's like when I have to sit in the Whataburger drive-thru, and I'm like, I almost don't want to give them my money.
Well, and I think
because it's so bad. The culture's bad.
Well, and that's why I say it's like two things. One, like for Chick-fil-A, it's not even that's not what we do. It's the same thing at TC. When things are out of our cultural norm, when someone sees it, like we speak, we even speak specific language to how we correct it. We don't say that's not what we do. We say that's not who we are.
Right.
Because your behavior is a representation of our identity. So when you step out of our culture, that's not who we are. It's not just that's not what we do, because you can stop doing it, but still have it in you.
Right.
It's like, no, that's not who we are. You need to be like, you need to elevate to a different person. So I think that's part of it.
Well, you mentioned Publix earlier in your example, like Publix versus Winn-Dixie. My cousin's husband has been at Winn-Dixie. I was with them this past weekend. We had a little family cookout thing. And my cousin's husband he's in management with Winn-Dixie for he's been there since out of high school, 20 something years. He's worked at Winn-Dixie. And somehow Publix came up about Publix managers. And he was like, oh yeah. He was like, I'd love to go work at Publix. I was like, you can't, with that much experience, you couldn't go to Publix and get a manager job? He said, no. He said, all their managers start at the bottom and they work their way up. And they're a part of it. And I was like, that you can notice that almost. He's like that. It is hard to come in as an outsider into Publix. Most of their managers started out as a bag boy.
Wow.
And they've been there.
Something. And
I was like, wow. I was like, Publix is what's closest to me, but I will gladly shop there over. I can't stand Walmart.
Yeah. All those. Yeah.
But that confirms, years ago, y'all have heard me say this, and I'll do it real quick, but Pastor Burr Clendenin, who was like a major mentor in my life, he was like the preacher traveling around the country in my generation. And he was asked one time he's preached one night, they had a dinner, and we were all sitting around for pastors only. And when I'm asking him, if you could do anything different, what would you do that would make you feel more successful? And he, without thinking, he said, I would have spent more time with the children. And one of them raised another question, well, what would make you say that? And he said, because you never have a spiritually mature church until the children of your ministry become the adult leaders in your house.
Right.
They come up under your vision, just like you're saying with Publix, and they're carrying that vision. And it's going to go for now you got more generations, you know, that have, you know, and that's one of the joys that I get to experience every time we walk in this building.
You see it.
Is the children that used to grab me around the knee are major leaders in this house all over the campus, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, all over the auditorium, you know, I'm sorry, no matter where you look, there they are. And that's why, you know, in one of our recent conversations with Pastor Brad in my living room, it was, you know, you're not a dreamer. You're not just a dreamer anymore. You're a visionary. You've passed that phase of being a young dreaming preacher. You know, God's got you in that. You're, you know, or we were in your office, I think, at that conversation. But anyway, it was, you know, you're planning now, not what are we going to do this year? What are we doing that's going to affect 3 generations from now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because these people that have now used to be a child in this church, but are leaders, they're not going anywhere. They're raising their children in the house under the same vision that's now expanding.
Yeah.
Right.
And their children and grandchildren are going to be the leaders of this house. And it's just going to keep expanding.
Yeah.
You know, because it came from the ground up.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
Well, and I think too, you know, even going back to what you said, you know, we were talking about Whataburger and how they take forever, or, you know, you're talking
Forever.
and you were talking about Chick-fil-A has proven that they can do it fast. It can be fresh and fast. I think one of the beautiful things about Chick-fil-A is a prime example. They also do few things well. Few things, and they do them all well. What they do well, but they do few things. It's like, how do you want this chicken? On a bun, chopped up in the nuggets, or in strips?
That's why, you know, a lot of these fast food restaurants, there's a portion of the menu dedicated to the new thing because they always have a new thing.
Right.
Chick-fil-A don't do that. I mean, the newest thing they had lately was the mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But like,
and they rotate milkshake flavors.
Their main product is like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Strips, nuggets, sandwich.
It's it. And
salad.
Yeah.
Which is nuggets in the salad.
right. Literally.
You know, so it's like,
and that's why I say, I think it goes back to us saying no. We say no to a lot of things because we're very efficient. You know, we do the things that we do, and that, you know God, find freedom, discover Christ, make it. Those are the 4 things we do. And yeah, we have missions and we have other things, but they're connected to helping people know God. Like so we do small groups and it's helping people find freedom. Next, like we do these things. It came up not too long ago. One of our teams got inconvenienced a little bit, had to get bumped. You know, the production team, because they were doing stage overhaul. We had to move Next Steps in the auditorium.
Oh yeah,
and that was one of the funny things. It was like, I know that changing the stage is important, but like, this is one of the 4 things we do. So like, it's always going to take priority. And of course they were fine. They waited the hour and a half and then they got it done, which they did a phenomenal job. This looks ridiculous in here in a good way, in our auditorium right now. But it's just that same thing. It's like, what do we know what to prioritize? Nugget, strips, sandwich, salad. Like for us, like, no God, find it. We have Sunday morning small groups, the Next Steps, and the Dream Team. This is one of the 4 things we do. We don't have to have a conversation about this.
Yeah.
Because we already know. It's
That's
like,
good.
so when people come in, well, have you guys ever thought about running a soup kitchen? No, we haven't, and we never will. Now, if someone else in our church has a vision for it and they launch it, we'll gladly look at it as a local missions platform. But we, Transformation Church, are not undertaking that thing because this is what we do right here. You know, so
we prepare people to do that.
We empower people to follow the path they have.
Good little ad
you
there.
know, even some. I mean, we have a huge development thing happening right now. You know, whenever state funding and all that takes forever for the property expansion, not the church building, but the other property and the athletics complex and all that stuff that we've talked about every time. But and that's taken forever. But even that, we've disconnected it from the church. Mm-hmm. And it's under a separate nonprofit because for that very reason. It's like that is a separate engine with separate
Vision.
money, separate vision.
Yeah.
Now the church is going to support it, and in turn, the church is going to be a beneficiary of that thing in
absolutely.
a number of ways, including bringing 20,000 people a week onto its campus and having Transformation Church be a partner. But even then, it's like we don't want to gray. We want to keep the church does this thing. This is our vision. This is our mission. We're not going to abandon that for anything. So even the vision that the pastor of the church has for how we as a church can make an impact on our city, we're going to do it as a partner with another organization, and we're not going to ask the church to do all of these things. So it's just super important, but it keeps everything, it helps us stay fixed on the right thing so we can keep doing the right thing. So
It's good.
yeah,
It's real good.
so we onboarded 30 something dream teamers this past week.
It's a lot.
And teaching them culture and the same thing, step 3, that's all we talk about. Culture. So
awesome.
it's
That's so
important.
cool.
So that's why people keep coming back. Life change is addicting. They see it in themselves, see it in their family. And so it's been super powerful. So
It's a good time.
it is. Yeah.
It's a good
So I
time.
preached on stuff Sunday. You can go check it out if you want. I don't know.
No, yeah.
so-
The whole series is worth a listen or a
It is.
watch.
It really is.
You can find a podcast or our YouTube or our website has it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Absolutely. So
Make sure you're caught up. Don't just listen to one of them. Listen to all of them.
let's do the
Yeah.
whole
The
series.
whole series is good.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yes. Yep.
Guess it's time to get out of here.
That's it. We're wrapping up. John, I'm so glad you were here today. You had
Don't
you had
talk
a
so
lot.
much next time, John.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
try not to.
Reframe conference this weekend. If you're not
Reframe.
registered, go to transformationchurch.com.
Please register and hurry up. Do it.
Listen, it is free, but you still need to register.
Yeah.
And then it's free, but if you want to add on a lunch for Saturday or your conference T-shirt, you pay for those items. But please register. It's going to be Friday night and Saturday. Saturday will also be day 21 of 21 Days of Prayer,
Yep.
which we are finishing at
At the
Reframe
Reframe
Conference. So no, not the normal 21 Days of Prayer 9 to 10 on Saturday, because we're having the Reframe Conference. So yeah, so we're still here the rest of the week, 6 to 7 during the week.
AM.
AM. So yeah, 6, 7 a.m. up until Friday. So yeah, it's gonna be a good week, good weekend.
It's gonna be good.
Right on. Pastor Dan, thank you for being with us.
Yep.
Awesome.
Always.
Yep. Justin,
Check
where
us-
might they find?
Check us out, transformationchurch.com or all the socials at Transformation Pensacola.
All right. Love y'all. Catch y'all next week for another week, another sermon, another message recap podcast.
That's it.